How are you guys doing today? I'm the FC, this is Blue Lions TV. Welcome to the match preview of our upcoming game tomorrow against West Ham. You know how I do things. I start off by giving my thoughts and opinions on the press conference. Then I get into the predicted lineup, and to end things, it's all things tactics. But before I get into anything, smash that like button if you do like the video. Help me get more than 500 likes for today's video. Don't forget to press the bell notification button either. And one more thing, as you guys can see the card on the top right, I've been going through my stats and I'm noticing that not too many people are clicking on them. And I think that a lot of people are missing out on content I feel that they might like. I tried to pick the top 5 videos which I think might be of the most interest to you guys. And just remember one thing, always remember to go through the description and the cards because I put a lot of information into videos. But getting into things, starting with the press conference. Now, of course, Sarri was asked about his opponents and he said that, yes, West Ham are dangerous, but they don't have that consistency. When asked about our top 4 hopes, Sarri stressed the importance of focusing on one game at a time. Now, Sarri was asked about Ruben, and one thing that Sarri stated was that Ruben has improved considerably when it comes to the tactical side of the game. I feel like I said this a billion times, but it makes sense. I mean, Ruben's been played out of midfield that his entire time since he's been promoted into the first team. It's understandable that his tactical responsibilities in the central midfield role aren't going to be up to point, but that's one thing that Sarri's works on really hard with Ruben, and it's quite evident now that he can do both sides of the game. Sarri stressed the point that Ruben just isn't an offensive mid anymore, and if I'm Ruben, I think that's the biggest compliment the manager can give me. Yeah, you guys, I admit, I've fallen into that way of thinking of maybe being slightly reactionary at times. I was of the belief that if Ruben just can't master this tactical side of the game, why doesn't Sarri adapt the team around him? But I was proven to be wrong correctly, and it always makes you realize that you need to have that degree of patience when it comes to football. Now, when Sarri was asked about Ruben and his current condition with his back, Sarri said that he isn't perfect. He gets checked on every single day in regards to his back. He only had a recovery session in the last training session. And as I've been telling you guys time and time again, Ruben's back has been a very delicate matter. And he has been getting his own specialist treatment in regards to how he trains because he can't necessarily do all the things other players do. I'm really hoping that his back becomes something that improves in the future because it would be really sad if a talent like him doesn't fulfill his potential due to his back injury. But the only positive sign that Sarri gave us was that he feels like the club doctors can keep up to things and the doctors can control the situation with his back. The discussion did turn to race recently, of course, with how Moises Kean was racially abused by Cagliari fans. With Danny Rose coming out stating that he's sick and tired, and understandably so. Sick and tired and frustrated with how race isn't dealt with in a stronger matter in football. And Danny Rose was stating that he looks forward to the day where he gets to retire and leave football behind. Sarri sympathised with Bonucci without condoning his behaviour or his actions, and that does make sense because I'm guessing that Sarri is going to know the player. But when he was questioned about Callum Hudson-Odoi, because he's been another player that has been in the spotlight due to race discussion, because even though he's barely played, the amount of racial abuse he's received recently has been disgusting. And honestly, stricter things need to happen in football right now. And maybe in the future, I might be doing another live stream with some prominent figures in the community where we share our thoughts and ideas on how to tackle this matter. Just to end the conference, Sarri said that it's looking like Giroud is going to be offered a contract extension. So that is going to be very interesting to see. And he also confirmed that Roman is in constant communication, but he mostly speaks to Zola instead of Sarri himself. And Sarri said that's because Zola speaks better English. But I'm not going to lie, you guys. If you ask me who speaks better English, Sarri or Conte, I'm going to say Sarri every single time. So maybe Sarri is just a perfectionist and he's not comfortable really expressing himself. I don't know. But moving into the lineup, and you guys, I'm going to be a bit brave. I personally feel like after that very convincing win against Brighton, and with how Sarri was very positive and in high praises, he must have seen the light now. He's spoken about how guys like Hudson-Odoi and Ruben can play a lot more. We only have 6 more games left. And if I'm Sarri, I'm thinking, you know what? The only game where we have to consider defending is going to be against Liverpool. We're only 1 point behind. We need to go and make sure that we get the goals By getting the goals, we get the points. And I feel like after that convincing win against Brighton, we are going to see the same lineup against West Ham. The only difference for me is that I think Higuain might play over Giroud. I see Christensen keeping his place because Sarri has been in very high praise. And Sarri's even said that people aren't speaking about Christensen enough. And when the manager is calling for people to focus on the player more, it only means that he's doing good things. And after seeing Rudiger's performance against Cardiff, which was especially poor, and he has been quite inconsistent as the new year's come, I think Christensen is showing now that he should be starting. He should be the first choice partner alongside David Luiz. It's quite clear that they complement each other very well. Christensen is very useful for the team, and I'm hoping to see him continue in every game until the end of the season. Now, when it comes to Hudson-Odoi, I can't lie, I was contemplating whether Sarri is going to start him again or potentially bring him on early in the second half, but I feel like with the momentum, with how he played, I feel like Sarri is going to continue to use Hudson-Odoi down the right-hand side. If you're Sarri, you must have realised, wow, the impact he provides on the right-hand side, he's not only just doing it against Europa League opposition, he can do it in this league, and look how he benefits and strengthens the team. Now, to end things, I'm going to be talking about our opposition in West Ham, how they're going to line up against us, what their plan is going to be, and I'm going to be talking about what we can do to counter against them. But starting with West Ham, and for me, West Ham have always been a bit of a funny team. Now, they've always possessed some fantastic individuals, and they still do. Arnautovic, Felipe Anderson, Lanzini, I could go on. But the issue with West Ham for me has always been that a lot of the players they sign and target are good at doing one thing, but aren't that complete as players. For me, the major weakness has always been the fact that they're very easy to counter against because I feel like their players' application off the ball isn't the same as when they're on the ball, trying to make moves. It's been like this for years now. I remember when they used to have Payet playing for them and the guy never used to do any work off the ball. And it's like, in this league now with how modern football is, if teams aren't going to defend together, what's the point? Still though, of course, it's only Pellegrini's first season. I'm sure they have a plan at West Ham. But with West Ham, when they play against the big boys, that's when they seem to step up. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe in games like this, it's an opportunity for some of their individual players to market themselves in the window and show what they're about. Maybe it's like a mental thing where they think, wow, we're the underdogs. We want to step up and prove our ability. Because when you look at the points that West Ham have dropped, they've been against teams in the bottom half, and it is quite weird. And I feel it's as if they can't get that like mental motivation to really play properly against these small teams. But against us tomorrow, I can imagine that they're going to be coming with a very defensive game plan, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, you look at all their past games against big teams, that has been their game plan, and it has worked in their favour. You know, they do become more compact and deep, and they don't really create too much spaces between the lines or in the middle. Even when Man City played against them recently, they really struggled to create a lot of good opportunities against them. And I think when they play this counter-attacking style, I really feel like it does help their attacking players more because, you know, that means they have more responsibility to, you know, do things with the ball themselves. When they receive that ball, they have the license to do what they want. And it's no surprise to me why someone like a Felipe Anderson has been someone that stepped up a lot this season. But with West Ham, I feel like they're a team where you can affect them and their mental fragilities. And I think they're a team that isn't as disciplined at times. Now, let's get one thing straight for tomorrow. West Ham are going to come with that defensive game plan. They're going to be resolute and compact defensively. If we get that first goal, everything's different. Everything's different because then West Ham have to react. And most times their reaction this season hasn't been great. But to get the possibility of getting an early goal, I feel like our lineup is going to play a big part of that. And I feel like if Sarri doesn't use that offensive lineup which we saw against Brighton, it's going to affect what we do. Because West Ham are a team where, as the game goes on, they get deeper, a lot more solids, and they start to grind things out. And we can't afford that. Not when there's only 6 games left until the end of the season. Every point matters, and I feel like really we should be trying to target getting 6 wins out of 6. And using that lineup which we saw against Brighton is going to make the biggest difference. Now, why is that? Well, look at how we utilise the flanks. That's the major bonus from that, and it's a shame that it's taken so long into the season for that to be the case. Let's be in context. I'm not going to get into that. But with what Emerson brought, with his ability to overlap, make runs in behind, to link up between Hazard and Ruben, I mean, my God, that just creates so much space already. And I personally feel like if Higuain does play against West Ham, he could be much more beneficial compared to Giroud. And that's because I think that if West Ham defenders see Giroud, they'll get that confidence where they'll feel much more confident against him one-on-one. But with someone like Higuain, as we saw against Huddersfield, West Ham's defenders struggle against movement in behind. I don't think that Higuain is someone that likes that physical one-on-one battle either. And imagine Higuain moving across the defensive line, stretching West Ham. You've got Emerson overlapping down the left. Ruben's on the ball. He's moving down to the left-hand side a lot more. And by doing that, it frees the space in between the lines for Hazard to have that free roll. And that's the last place you want Hazard to be, having freedom, especially being in the middle, unmarked and unopposed. That's the benefit you get from using this team. And if Hudson-Odoi is down the right too, because what's going to be key as well with how the fullbacks create the space is that we allow our attacking players to go 1v1 against their man. And let's be serious, we possess quite a lot of the best dribblers in the league in my opinion. There's not many better players on the ball like Ruben, Hudson-Odoi and Hazard. And if we play with that positive start, I feel like we can get the first goal. And once that first goal comes, that's going to force West Ham to have to open themselves up. And West Ham are awful on the counter-attack. And they're weak defending out wide. And it's obvious. Are guys like Felipe Anderson and Snodgrass, etc., going to be doing that defensive shift for 90 minutes? Of course not. And once that first goal comes, the entire complexion of the game changes. And I think that will get a comfortable win. But I understand there's a lot of what ifs and a lot of possibilities. But for my score prediction for tomorrow, because I feel a bit confident that we are going to see this lineup, I'm going for a 3-0 win against West Ham. But you guys, that's going to bring an end for today's video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look on the cards above to find more videos. I'm NiniFC, this is Blue Lions TV, signing out.